Hey, everyone. It is Tuesday night. I'm sending out a couple shares here real quick since we're live. Give me just a second. I got one more and we will get to it. I get slower and slower with this as, you know, they keep changing the algorithms and all that fun stuff on Facebook. All of my groups that I share to used to be on top, but instead let's make them, scattered everywhere because that makes more sense. He only shares to these few groups, so let's mix them up so he can't share as much. But anyway, without beating Facebook to death. So we're here today. We're gonna have a good show. We got Ryan Permesson in the background. And we're going to name off our sponsors real quick. So we have Codex Entertainment LLC with Luis Torres. Please check out Lily the Demoness, Ace and Starlet, Whispers in Necropolis, Nebula Pearl, and the latest entry, VR XOXO. You can find all that at codexent.com. Links are in the description. We got 183 Degree Studios with Alfred Trujillo, Doobie Doobie Doo, and Miss AZ Power Girl, Kara Nicole. Please check out their Patreons as well as 183degreestudio.com, where you can get some of that OG art and some sweet prints of some of the past pieces that they have done. So check that out at 183degreestudio.com. We also have Doris Jones Labor of Love. Please check out her website, dorisjoneslaboroflove.com, where you can get a 8x10 black canvas with neon acrylics for only $75, plus all the other art that she has available on there as well. $75 is a steal. She usually sells them between $175 and $200. So if you're looking for something special for Christmas for somebody, there you go, right there. We have Naughty Fairies with Miss Wendy Steen Shane, or check out Naughty Fairies Con 3.0 dropping in January, followed up by the anthology project Luna Tales, which includes a written story by me and several other creators. So excited for this project. It's a kid's story. I think it's going to be good for kids and adults both. So please check both of those out, as well as her Etsy store. All that can be found in the description above as well. Hazzum Productions with Rodney Fike and the Art of Rodney Fike. Please check out Roadkill Rampage and Pitter Patter and Peanut Pudding and Jelly. Those are all the stories that he has written and done most of the art for, except for Roadkill Rampage. So you can check those out at Hazzum.com. Once again, all this stuff is available in the description if you want to go back and check it out after the show. We have Melone Management with Lisa Malone. Please hit her up if you have any type of crowdfunding project going on, whether it's an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter. She can help you out. You can get a free 1 hour consultation, go over what her list of services are, and she will hook you up and let you know what she can do. And then you can keep pounding out that project while she works on stretch goals and sharing out and promoting for you. We got DPopp Customz with Dustin Poppins. If you got a print laying around, you want to jazz it up when you make a cool frame for it, then hit up Dustin Poppins at DPopp Customz, and you can get that custom frame made, jazz that print up, and hang it up on the wall. It'll even dance to music if you wanted to. So check that out. And last but not least, we have Outpost 426 Studios with Stevie Zane and Michael Shoemaker. Check out their Into the Suck and Scorpiana, as well as Black Rabbit, which will be dropping later on, well, I guess next year. I think they've been too busy with stuff and setbacks with the current project, so it got pushed to next year. So I'm still excited about it. It looks really awesome. And I lied. Last but not least is Russ Exposed Studios charity auctions for CB4K. If you don't know what that is, please go look that group up. What it is it's a charity auction that I run through my business that we send all the money and all the profits from the auctions goes to cb4k.org. CB4K is an organization that sends comic books, coloring books, Pez dispensers, pop figurines, stuffed animals, and much, much more to hospitals and cancer centers nationwide. And it helps sick kids get through all the stuff that they're going through, especially now with COVID. Parents can't be there with their kids, especially if they're immunocompromised. So this will give them a bit of comfort just for, small something that you would normally buy, a piece of art. All that money will go to help those kids. $25 is all it takes to ship one box of 125 comics to a hospital. So just think about that. Remember that. So check it out at Rust Explode Studios charity auctions for CB4K. And without further ado, we're going to bring out Ryan. What's going on, man?
I'm doing well, good sir. Thanks for having me. This is amazing. I'm normally so used to being in my studio and asking other people questions. I'm not always used to being on the hot seat. But
Whoa, what are you doing? Are you trying to take over my studio?
no, I'm not. No, I would never do that. No, but
I'm just giving you trouble. I was like,
exactly. No, you're yanking
will it
my
make you
chain.
feel
Yeah.
better if I switch spots with you?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm so used to being on one side of the studio, but no, seriously, this is going to be fun. This is a blast. We plugged this thing like crazy, and I told Brian Rodman that I would tune into the Dastardly Dingoes earlier, and unfortunately, I missed out on that. But Brian, I know you're watching at home. I'm catching it up on YouTube. I promise I will get through that episode very soon because it's a great topic, great discussion. I'm sure it was a fantastic episode to boot. So yeah, Brian Rodman. There's someone you should check out, brianrodman.com. He's got a bunch of good, cool stuff going over there, whether it's Memoirs of an
Yeah.
Angel, maybe the Nebulizer, and Rodney
Yeah,
Fike's a
and you know
cool.
what? The
Yeah,
nebulizer is a part of Steph Pool's Circle of Destruction, so the nebulizer has a card in there.
there you go.
Mm.
In the words of my good friend Wayne Campbell, I was not aware of that. So that's fantastic stuff. And by the way, Rodney Fike is a cool dude, but his brother, Sean Forney, he's a cool guy too. He's got some good stuff going too. So
Yeah, he does.
yeah.
Or as he was last night on the closeout show, he was a rodent pool. So instead
Oh,
of
okay.
the red mask with the
Yeah.
black eyes, it was the black
Right.
mask with the red eyes, and it
Yeah.
was so funny because he's like, "Whew, this thing's hot." And just ripped it off. It's probably shocked millions of people everywhere because they had no idea who Rodent Pool was, and then he was whisked off the mask live. A few
It's
kids
not.
passed out. It's like, oh man, it was just Rodney Fike.
Yeah, it's not easy wearing these things when you're in a studio doing a show with 5 or 6 other people. Especially, I mean, I was just watching this before we went on. I was watching the original intro to MMPR, Mighty Morphin from 1993, the Power Rangers, and I'm thinking to myself, those suits for the stunt guys, the stunt men and women who were in those suits, those helmets must have been so hot to
Oh
be in
yeah,
those helmets,
they were
man. I
huge and
cannot
they were heavy
imagine.
too.
Yeah,
Back then they didn't have the plastics we have now where
hmm
you could like 3D print a lightweight helmet.
that's
They
right.
were
That's
like
right.
they were like fully like,
Oof.
altered motorcycle helmets that probably weighed 18 or 19
It's like a
pounds.
sauna in there. Whew.
Yeah, when they get done, they have to drink a gallon of Gatorade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Good
so
times.
now you're in the hot seat. So we get to drill you with all these awesome questions tonight. So
I'm excited.
I reached out to you. You had me on a few weekends ago. We
Hmm
chatted for a little while. So now we get to flip the
Yeah,
we get to flip it. So
we do. Yeah.
so I want to start out. When did you get into nerd culture? Like, I know that's the kind of the name of your show that you do when you spotlight the indies, but let's start off with that question. When were you introduced to the nerd culture?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's not just me on the Nerd Culture YouTube channel. It's me and 5 other people. We're made up of graduates from college. College graduates, and a lot of us are in the workforce now. Working whether it's production or other stuff. And but we got together when we were still at the university, and we were put together by another company that was trying to like get themselves off the ground, and they were on campus. So they organized us all into different teams in different corners of what they were doing, and I ended up being in the nerd culture part of the experiment. So it was me and a bunch of other people, and then we weeded it out, and then eventually it was just I think it was like 4 or 5 of us at the time, and then one of them left, and then we recruited somebody else, and then that person stepped out. Then we brought in another person, so it's like it's crazy. And now there's 6 of us, so it's amazing. We've had like just a little bit of a revolving door. So we were nerd culture back then. We still are now. We've been doing this for 4 years, and our YouTube channel, which you can find as you see on my tag at It's Nerd Culture, all forms of social media. Hashtag always promote yourself. We do nerdy stuff. We talk about movies. We talk about TV series. We talk about anime, video games, anything nerdy. We try to embrace the nerd within you. That's what we try to do with our content. We want you to enjoy it. We want you to like, comment, share, subscribe. The stuff that you hear every day on YouTube. You
That's
hear
right.
all that stuff. But yeah, what I do specifically is a show called And I Quote. The reason it's called And I Quote is because I like to quote movies 24/7. And people say when they're reporting the story, like journalists say, well, I heard this from a source, and they said, and I quote, da 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 da. And I'm like, you know what? That works because originally it was just nerd culture interviews so and so. I mean, it was still me as the host, but at the time our thumbnails just said nerd culture interviews, insert name here. And I thought I need to rename this thing. I need to spice things up. And I thought, and I quote is the perfect way to. It sums up me as a person. It sums up me how I quote movies like a crazy man. And people say that when they're reporting on stuff. So it just makes a lot of sense. So, and I quote is the name of my show. I do it every Saturday at noon Eastern. So check your local listings because I'm not going to list all 50 time zones right now. I'm not going to do that. So But I interview people of all shapes and sizes. I interview producers, writers, comic book writers, comic book artists, inkers, colorers, letters, whatever. I've interviewed actors, actresses, producers, all kinds of stuff. So anything that's in the nerd realm or something that's to my liking or my area of expertise, if you will, I try to interview those people as much as I can. And I have been very honored and privileged to, I've had 50 episodes now of And I Quote. And coincidentally enough, I did the math. I went back over our YouTube channel. I was looking at our past videos to make sure I did the numbers right. Russell Allen was our 50th guest for my 50th episode. So I am this close to 100 episodes. So Russell, 50, man, you're the magic 50. And this weekend, I'm going to be interviewing Jeffrey Hayes of Plasmafire Graphics, where the look of your book matters to you. Go to plasmafiregraphics.com to find out more about that awesome sauce of a gentleman and an illustrator, graphic designer known as Jeffrey Hayes. I'm going to be interviewing him this Saturday. He will be my 51st guest. So
51st.
things are moving.
So I get to be the peanut butter in the sandwich.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, Russ. It's a beautiful thing. So yeah, that's right. But as far as to answer the original question, when did I get introduced to like nerdom as well? I've been a nerd pretty much since I was about the tender age of 5. Maybe 6, because a certain indie show debuted on a little indie network called Fox Kids in 1993 called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this, but it was kind of a big deal, and it still is. And ever since that show debuted, I mean, I was already into movies a little bit before that, but when that show debuted, I was like, man, this is I want to be one of these guys, you know?
Yep.
I want to be wearing the communicators, teleporting to God knows where, because who wants to drive and fly everywhere and you can just teleport? It's so much easier to teleport. So I wanted the morphers, I wanted the communicators, I wanted the suits, I wanted the Zord, like I wanted the whole enchilada. So because of that show and a mixture of other shows such as X-Men, Spider-Man, Are You Afraid of the Dark, Goosebumps, Nickelodeon Guts, you have it, Guts, you know, Legends of the Hidden Temple, Animorphs, all that stuff. I was like, this is my thing. I love it, and I love it to pieces. The 90s are the best thing since sliced bread, and that's just an opinion. That's a fact, Jack. So, born in the 80s, raised in the 90s. I love it. I eat it. I sleep it. I breathe it. And I love movies to this day. I still like TV shows to this day. I watch some of the modern stuff, mostly classics, but I do watch some of the modern stuff. So, yeah, I just that's basically how I got introduced to nerdom. Was at the tender age of probably 5.5, maybe 6 years old when Mighty Morphin dropped. I mean, I was already watching stuff before that, because before that you had X-Men and Batman the Animated Series, which is kind of a big deal. But Mighty Morphin came on, I was like, mine was blown. So,
all right, you know this question's coming. So what color?
I got to go with red. I got to go with red because Jason, and this is a true story. I want to make this perfectly clear. The Red Ranger, when I saw him carry that power sword around, just chopping everyone to bits, and he's the leader of the team before some guy named Tommy came in and ruined everything with his Green Ranger saga. Green was evil, but then he became the White Ranger, and I actually started liking him. So Tommy, when you became the White Ranger, that's when I started appreciating you. The green stuff, not so much, but the White Ranger stuff I dig. Tiger Zord for life. But yeah, I got to go with red, and not only because he was my favorite Ranger when the show started, but because I had the privilege of meeting Austin St. John at conventions the last couple of years, who portrayed Jason on the original Mighty Morphin series. And this guy has done so much, not just in the armed forces, but he's on the board for autismpower.org. And I have autism myself, so I take that very seriously. So the fact that the original Red Ranger is on the board for something that specifically celebrates autism, that's a big deal. And that makes me like Austin St. John even more. And I bought a whole lot of Red Ranger merch over the course of this Black Friday / Cyber Monday weekend, brother. Yeah. So I got a whole bunch of Red Ranger swagger coming my way very soon. And by the way, if you want some of that Red Ranger swag, do yourself a favor and go to austinstjohn.biz and treat yourself to some shirts, hoodies, what do you call those things? Like what do you call those things? Coasters, or the stuff you put your coffee in to keep it warm or cold, whatever.
Yeah,
exactly.
Thermoses.
So thermoses,
tumblers.
Yeah, tumblers. That's it, tumblers. Thank you, Russ. So if you're in the mood with some Red Ranger celebrating the Ranger saga, and it's not just Red Ranger stuff that he has on his site. He has stuff that celebrates everything MMPR. Treat yourself. Go to austinstjohn.biz. Get on it. and may the power protect you all. That's what I got to say about that.
And I just can't wait until like I'm watching one of your shows and you tell somebody their mama was a snowblower. I mean, come on, what movie is it from?
Yeah, that's Short Circuit. That's Short Circuit.
Yep, that's Short Circuit. I'm Johnny Five.
Dude, I saw that on a T-shirt this weekend. They were selling it on tpublic.com, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to wear that necessarily as a shirt, but it is a funny saying.
It's a funny quote, but like, you know, kids these days, they wouldn't be like, what does that mean? My mama was a snowblower. They're gonna get all like sexual with it. And...
Exactly. And by the way, when that movie came out in the 80s, and then Julia Roberts mentioned that term, snowblowing, in the movie Stepmom with Susan Sarandon back in the 90s, the Chris Columbus film, and she kind of hinted at what it was when she was talking to Susan Sarandon, because Susan Sarandon's like, okay, so-and-so, I understand, but what exactly is snowblowing? And she's like, you know what? I didn't even explain it to your daughter, so she doesn't need to know about it. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I have a pretty good idea where this is going. I'm not going to say it, but I know where it's going. So there you go. Julia Roberts mentions this 14 years later after, I think it was 84, if not 86, when Short Circuit came out. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a classic. We just
went into a deep, dark hole with some NC-17 humor right there, but there you go.
Yeah, hey, that's all right. We're full of NC-17 R,
random stuff that just comes out of our mouths that makes no sense.
Yeah, just random bullshit. You know, it happens. It just happens to come out, and you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, but I'm Team Red Ranger, so there you go.
You're Team Red Ranger.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So, have you ever been into comics or anything like that, or it's just been more animated series?
Well, I've been to live action animated series. I've been into those since I was a kid. But as far as the comics go, that's a funny story because my brother, I have two older brothers. So I'm the cub. I'm the Simba of this whole thing. So I'm the youngest, even though the Simba terminology doesn't really make any sense. But work with me here, audience. So my brother had a collection of comics in his room in a large white, box that you put comics in, right? So he had a long box. Long box, thank you. So he had a long box, right? And I was filtering through it one day when I was younger. I was like, oh, these are all right. These are kind of cool, but this really isn't my thing. So then Batman Day comes up in the year of our Lord, 2017. My friends finally convinced me to go to a comic book shop with them because I haven't been to this one. I've been to a comic shop here and there, but I didn't really give it much thought. You know what I mean? They just passed me by. So we go to this comic shop in Annapolis, Maryland called Third Eye Comics. And Third Eye Comics, I walk in there, and the first thing that they do is one of the staff members at the store comes up to me and says, hi, welcome to Third Eye Comics. Is this your first time here? I said, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's my first time here. She's like, okay, well, can we help you find anything? I'm like, well, what would you recommend for someone who's just starting into getting into comics? And she's like, follow me. So she takes me to an aisle that specifically says, new comic book readers, here are the trades that you need to read. So I looked through the trades and I'm like, okay, I'll buy this, I'll buy that, and I'll buy this, I'll buy that. And I got a few free comics because, it was Batman Day, so they give you some free stuff while you're in there. And it was during the era of DC's Rebirth series that was going on. So I got DC Rebirth #1, Batman Rebirth #1 by Tom King, which, by the way, Tom King is just, what a heck of a writer he is. So I read that, and then I read these trade paperbacks. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of these. One's called DC's Flashpoint, which is kind of a big deal. DC's Kingdom Come by Mark Waid and Alex Ross, and a few others, but those were the two that stood out. And I read these graphic novels, and that's when I became a comic fan. I'm like, yes! This is awesome. The artwork is incredible. The storytelling is masterful. And by the way, Alex Ross is a boss. That guy knows how to paint, just put together a picture of when you're reading this book, you are, he draws you into the story. No matter what it is, he draws you into the story. So my hats are off to Mark Waid and Alex Ross, because those are my two favorite, comic writers and those are my, #1 favorite comic writer and comic artiste. So if I ever see Alex Ross or Mark Waid at a Comic-Con, which I hope to do in the year of our Lord, 2022, once hopefully Earth reopens and we get over this whole pandemic thing, I want to have them sign my Kingdom Come trade paperback. Because that's my favorite graphic novel of all time right now. That is my #1 favorite, is Kingdom Come. That is a serious mother effing story that just draws you in, man. It makes you believe that these characters are on this planet, in this world, doing these things that they do. And you're seeing the story through the eyes of an elderly guy, but he's been around for years, like, watching these heroes, and he's admiring them, and then he sees them go through their struggles, and you're witnessing how he's like processing that. And it's just amazing to me that you can do that. It's amazing. So that's how I got into comics. So I've been a comic book fan since 2017, which I know isn't really a long time, but you know what they say, Russ? It's better late than never. So
That's right. So what about anime? You dig any anime?
I haven't really explored the anime universe yet. I know there's a ton of properties out there, whether it's Attack on Titan, whether it's Death Note, whether it's My Hero Academia, whether it's Dragon Ball Z, or Pokemon, or Digimon. Digimon are the champions. I don't know, that's a theme song I remember from the 90s. But no, I have not really explored the anime genre. So I'm sorry to disappoint your millions of loyal listeners and fans out there, but I have not explored the genre that is anime.
No, it's perfectly fine. It's not everybody's forte. I mean,
Yeah.
as far as, recommendations, I mean, Attack on Titan is definitely one. Death Note is very good. You would love Death Note. Death Note is absolutely awesome the way that it was written.
Nice.
And so the anime itself is very well done. Don't watch the live action movie.
Yeah, I heard the Netflix movie didn't go over well.
No, it didn't. But my favorite all-time anime, and see, this was my intro into anime, and this is probably why I fell so hard for it. I had dabbled in it before, but I was like never really got super into it. I liked Outlaw Star and some of the older stuff, but Full Metal Alchemist is what really drew me in. It's such a heartwarming tale.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
That's
I've heard of the property. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my all-time favorite right there. I mean, so if you go into the intro, check out Full Metal Alchemist and follow the story of Ed and Al.
Ed. Okay.
Yep, Ed and Al. And I guarantee you're gonna love it, man. You're gonna be sucked in. You're gonna be like, you're gonna binge watch it, and you're gonna be like, dude, I hate you. I stayed up for 3 days straight. No, I'm just kidding.
I was binge watching this all over the interwebs.
All over the interwebs.
Or somewhere.
You can pick it up pretty cheap. I think on eBay you get a new copy of it for like $30 for the entire series.
Nice.
That's season 1 and 2. And it's like
1 and 2. Okay.
50 something episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a movie that finishes out. It's the Conqueror of Shambhala.
Ooh.
And so, like, I never knew the movie was coming out, and I'm like, with the way they ended the series, you're just kind of like, and then they're like, oh yeah, here's this movie, and I was like, oh yeah, they're gonna, and it just finished it beautifully. It was awesome. It was really cool. I mean, it was just a magical story, and that's what I'm all about. That's what Xenoblade Titan is. It's a story about family and family struggles, and that Ed and Al, they just hit you right in the feels. You start out in the first episode, and you find out that their dad left to war, and he never came home, and all they had was their mom. Their mom falls ill, and she dies. And there's alchemy. You can create things. So they find the formula of what a human body contains, and it's against the laws of nature to try to bring back the dead. And so in the process, I mean, this is all in the first episode, so that's not ruining anything. So in the process of trying to revive their mom using the alchemic materials used to make a human body, Alphonse loses his body and Ed loses his entire arm and leg. And so in the final minutes, as this gateway is sucking Alphonse's soul and his body into this portal, Ed uses alchemy to attach Alphonse's soul to a suit of armor. So he's forever trapped in this suit of armor with this mark. And if this mark gets destroyed, his soul dies and is lost forever. So I mean, it's insane. It's insanely good. So I highly recommend it. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail there. I'm just very passionate about it.
No, it's all right. I got a copy of your book sitting on my desk. I've read the first few chapters. Got to get through the rest of it. But then again, I got 50,000 other things I need to get through.
Oh, you don't have you don't have anything going on. I mean, you don't have finals and all that.
Final semester of something known as college and get my bachelor's. Yeah, that's not important.
Yeah, that's not important.
No, of course not.
Not at all.
No.
So what do you plan on doing? So what's your thing? So you're going to graduate. You've got these jobs lined up. Do you plan on continuing with nerd culture?
Oh yeah, no, nerd culture is never going to go away. I mean, you're going to have to, you know, someone, I don't know who said this, but someone said in a movie or a comic book one time, like, you're going to have to carry me out in a body bag if you want me to stop doing, you know? So no, nerd culture is not going to stop. I'm not going to stop doing, and I quote on Saturdays at noon Eastern, hashtag always promote yourself, because I love what I do. I love meeting new people and hearing what they got to say about their creations or whatever content that they're putting out into the ether, you know,
Into the
because they
ether.
do it because they love it, and I do it because I love it. So I want to celebrate that, and I want to keep it rolling, man. And plus, you know, if you're working a grind from 9 to 5 every week, you know, you need something to decompress with. You need something to make you happy and make you excited to go to attack life again. So this is what I do on Saturdays at noon Eastern. Is I interview somebody every week. I try to make it new every week, or if someone, you know, was on my show in the previous season, they want to come back, they're more than welcome to, because as we all know, people evolve, things change, people put together new projects, people put together new stuff that they want to market, and just like the boy says in the RoboCop, I'd buy that for $1. So they're like, you know, you want to plug your plug that stuff, and I want to do that. And I mean, I like the people I work with, and within nerd culture, you know, all of us, because there's 6 of us in this team, so it's not just me. So I want to keep working with them. I want to be like the cream, rise to the top, the cream of the crop. Yeah. So I mean, we want to keep building and building and building our YouTube channel, because right now we got 665 subscribers on the channel, and that's great. That's really really good. We've been doing this. We've been attacking this thing for 2 years with this new YouTube channel, because we had to like reboot and rebrand ourselves at a time. So you know, this portion of our YouTube channel has been around for 2 years and change, or a year and change, but we're going to keep going, and we're not going to stop, because we love what we do. And I know I can speak for the rest of our team, you know, Caroline, Travis, Nick, Ruth, Greg, you know, all of them. Nick, when I say that we love what we do and we're not going to stop. So yeah, after graduation, we're going to keep this going. If this YouTube channel grows to the point where we can monetize it and start making some moolah, some green coming out of that machine, because you can't make the scene if you don't have the green, brother. That would be great. But if this just turns out to be a hobby and we don't, you know, this thing doesn't like monetize itself, or we don't end up making good kudos some money, you know, and this is just a hobby for us, that's fine too. Because if you love what you do, it's not called work.
That's
So if we
right.
love what we're doing, it's not work. We just love what we do and we keep doing it. So no, I'm not going to stop. You know, like I said, you're going to have to carry me out in a body bag for me to stop doing. And I quote every Saturday at noon Eastern, unless I take a break. Um, and I do something else on the side too, Russ. I forgot to bring this up earlier. I'll bring it up now. I do a audio podcast where I review movies on through Anchor, Google, Spotify, wherever you download your podcast. You can find us there. It's called the Nerdcast, and I host it. I talk about 2 movies an episode, because you know, you want to keep the material rolling. Don't want to reveal all your cards, you know, in one episode. Plus, I've watched a lot of movies lately, so that would be like a 3-hour episode. That's not happening. And we know that people want their information like real quick, right? They want it in like scribbles. They want it in little, you know, niblets. So
Cliff
my
notes.
episodes are
Yeah.
5 and 7 minutes long. Keep it tight, keep it simple. You know, talk about 2 movies a week, and they're different movies from different genres, different eras, different period, whatever. And I plug them out. You know, I try to do it every week. Recently, I haven't really been doing it because I've been focusing on and I quote and marketing and branding that so much. And the Nerdcast has taken a back seat. But during the winter break, you know, during the latter part of the holiday season, which is coming up very soon, I am going to be putting out a big number of episodes that because I haven't put out a lot of episodes in a while, so I'm going to put out some episodes over the course of the latter part of the holiday season, and try to get back on that horse, respectively, and try to keep that out, keep coming out, and just keep watching movies, man, because I write down all the movies I watch, and then I cross off the ones that I've talked about on my show, so I can keep track of everything. You should see my notebook and how much is on the notebook, man. I got so many movies I need to share, so many movies I want to review, critique, and share my opinions with the universe. And believe me when I tell you this, those episodes are coming. And when you hear the opinions I have on certain films, you may be thinking, wow, I totally understand why he didn't like that movie. Or you may be thinking to yourself, how dare he disrespect that movie? Like, you know, because, you know, movies are subjective. One person
They
may like
are.
this movie, the other person may think this movie is a total piece of garbage. But you know what? Film is subjective. And if you like a movie, that's great. Support that movie. I say go for it. And if you hate the movie and want to beat it into the ground, have at it, man, because it's all subjective. You know, people are going to hate. Haters are going to hate. Lovers are going to love. And we're just going to keep living our lives. So Stay
That's right.
tuned. New episodes of the Nerdcast are coming very soon to a podcasting app near you. You can find it on Anchor, Google, Spotify. Just look up the Nerdcast. It's got a movie theater background, and it says, hosted by Ryan Permerson of Nerd Culture. You can find the description there. I do have 116 episodes that you can go back and listen to. So there's more than enough material to keep the millions and millions of fans occupied before the new ones come out.
Very awesome. And so if you need, some advice on what movies to watch and not to watch, you said 117 episodes, and so that's what, 2 movies per episode. So
It's a lot.
so that's 334.
Yeah.
334 movies. So you have more than enough. You can watch 5 episodes, and then that'll give you 10 movies to watch, and then you can like
Exactly.
slowly work your way through.
It adds up. It all adds up, and that's what I try to do. I try to give people, this is my thoughts. If you want to watch these movies, go ahead and watch them. And if you don't want to watch them, that's fine too. I will leave it up to you.
That's kind of like my favorite movie, Robot Jocks. Like now you go back and watch it and it's just laughable. But back when I was a kid, like every time we go to the movie store, I would rent that. And so finally the movie store just sold it to us because they weren't ever able to
They
rent
were
it.
tired of seeing you people come in every week, be like, "Yo, man, we're sick and tired of seeing your ugly face. Just take the movie and leave." No, dude,
Yeah, just take the movie and
days.
leave. Don't ever come back again.
I remember those days, man, going into Blockbuster and just being in there for hours, just trying to figure out what 2 movies you were going to rent out that night, and your parents are footing the bill when you're a kid. I'm like, gee, my dad would give me a few stiff talking. He was like, dude, make up your mind already. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Dad, but there's just too many movies in Blockbuster because Blockbuster has everything, So but I miss those days. I do. I miss those.
I miss those days too. You could rent games. You could walk in there and rent Clay Fighter for the Genesis or the Super Nintendo.
You could rent video game systems at Blockbuster at the time.
Yeah.
And you could rent N64 back in the day. Legitimately.
Yeah, and then you get the one that had the joysticks that were broken on all the controllers. So like you just shook the controller and it just was like blah, 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 blah.
It was terrible. Yeah, no, it was fun, man. I miss those days. I was in Blockbuster Video. I know my brother had a membership to Hollywood Video, so there was that. There was our local library. Which are still standing. And by the way, support your local libraries whenever you can. And the other one was, I'm trying to think, what was another place we rented movies at? Oh, this was a mom and pop place, I think. It was called Errol's at the time. That was a cool place too to rent VHS tapes back in the day. That's how I found out about the Spider-Man 1960s animated series. So there you go. I rented the VHS tape with the pilot, like the first 4 episodes of the original 1967 show, and I was like, dang, this is a cool show. And then the 90s happened, and then the 90s animated series on Fox Kids dropped, and I was like, this is my Spider-Man, because the 1967 one is fine, but the 1990s one is just way better, in my opinion. But then again, different eras, different stories, different people watched Spider-Man in the 60s, so you gotta understand that. Like Batman with Adam West in the 60s, hashtag not my Batman. But for people who grew up in the 60s, that was their Batman.
That's right.
As much as I rail on 1960s Batman, I got to understand, there was a time when people worshipped the ground that TV show walked on. So,
Well, it's just like you had Lou Ferrigno, and then now you have Edward Norton.
Yeah, you had Ed Norton and Mark Ruffalo. And by the way, I really liked 2008's The Incredible Hulk with Ed Norton. I really liked that movie.
I did too. I thought it was really good.
It is a criminally underrated comic book movie. It is so good. I mean, listen, we've only had 2 solo Hulk films, not counting the ones he's been in with the MCU. The Incredible Hulk is in the MCU, and to me, it's one of my favorite MCU solo films. I think it's criminally underrated.
I thought it was really good too.
I thought not only was it really good, but you got the beautiful Liv Tyler in there. I mean, I like Liv Tyler. I mean, hello, Lord of the Rings, anybody? So it's just, my hat's off to Liv Tyler. And by the way, Liv, honey, where have you been? We miss seeing you. I never see you anymore. Give us a call. Seriously. I never see her in movies. Like, she did The Incredible Hulk. They never made a sequel because Universal still owns the rights. But at the same time, it's like, you really could make a Hulk movie now and still put Liv Tyler in there. Because she's still canon. Because The Incredible Hulk is MCU canon. So, but no one likes to talk about it.
So
I like to talk about it.
We've talked about how you've reviewed 334 movies.
Well,
now we're gonna put the hard question in there. Top 3 favorite movies. Go.
By the way, I see Luis in the
or series.
No, so that's cool. By the way, Luis, you're the first one in the comments, and I appreciate that. But where's everybody else?
I don't know. They keep popping in and popping out. Maybe
What's the
there's something
deal?
cool going on. They must be like a free money giveaway or something. Like they're missing out on the coolest fucking show like
Seriously, like
ever.
where are all the peeps? Like, and by the way, Carl Witzman, I know I know who you are. And Carl Witzman, you're gonna have so many other screenshots to share on your page from this show and all the other shows that I do. This is something that Carl likes to do, Russell. Carl takes screenshots from my episodes of And I Quote and he posts them on his page and he gives them a caption like, "This is how Ryan reacted when Kelly told him that story and how freaked out he got." And then you see a look on my face that I'm expressing like a little bit of shock or whatever. Carl's very good at that. So if you want some really funny screenshots of my ugly mug, visit Carl Witzman on Facebook because he's a funny dude, but he's just creative of coming up with screenshots. So just look him up. He's a cool dude. Anyway, top 3 movies. Let's go with this for a minute. Let's do it into 2 things here. Favorite film series and then favorite like straight up just solo films. So I would say some of my favorite franchises are Star Wars. I think Star Wars is a big one. That's kind of a big deal. Star Wars means a lot to me. Let's see. Gosh, I like certain DC movies, but they're few and far in between. And then MCU is few and far between. Like I think sometimes people give MCU too much credit because not all their films are perfect, and they're definitely not all that good. Like very.
They're not films that I rush out to on the opening day to go watch.
No, yeah,
And
I feel
other
like
people blow
yeah,
them up like that.
people just flood to these things, and I get it because Marvel has a formula that's worked for them for gosh, going on 15 years now, which is ridiculous to think about. But yeah, it's amazing to me. Don't get me started. But anyway, so yeah, I like Star Wars. I like certain DC films. I like certain. I don't know. I like different movies from different genres, but if I had to pick like specifically films that I enjoyed the most, I would say Force Awakens. I saw The Force Awakens 6 times in the theater. That's the most amount of times I've seen a single film in a theater. So I got to give Star Wars Episode 7. Okay, get it straight. It's Episode 7. It's not just a spin-off movie. It's Episode 7. Lucky number 7, in my humble professional opinion. The Force Awakens, I love that movie to pieces. I think Man of Steel. Yeah, you see this? Yeah. Man of Steel, I saw that movie 5 times in the theater. I don't care what anyone says. To me, it is a great comic movie. It is my favorite Superman movie. No disrespect to Christopher Reeve, but Henry Cavill he's the sauce. He's the man.
Well, you know what?
He is
I
the
want to
big
stop
bad
you for a second. So I never seen Man of Steel because it got so much flack.
Oh
So
no,
many people
it's
burned it
so
to the
good.
ground.
It's
I
so
never
good.
watched it. And one of our movie store in town was going out of business, and it was on the shelf, and then there was a Blu-ray and the 3D Blu-ray, and it was like $12. I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot because I love the old Supermans. And so I picked it up, and I'm like, what the hell is everybody's problem? This movie is badass. This is like one of the best Superman movies out there. And I watched I've watched it probably like 80 times. I'm like, and every time I hear somebody down it, I'm like, what's wrong with the movie? And they're like, oh, well. And I'm
Superman
like, yeah,
doesn't
you've got
kill,
nothing.
and everybody dies in the end. I'm like, no, they don't. You don't know that people were in those buildings when they went down to Metropolis. Most people evacuated before Zod brought Kal-El like back through the city, like thrashing him and throwing him through the. Like, do you really think there were a lot of people in those? Like, granted, people did die because you see the memorial in Batman versus Superman. You see the memorial with the statue of Superman like leaning down and offering his hand. Like, we get that people died, but not as many people died as you think. Okay, because people evacuated when that ship started sucking cars up into the what is it called? The World Engine ship was sucking up cars.
World
It's like
Engine.
people weren't stupid. They left the city, if not evacuated most of those buildings. But let me just tell you,
most of the people weren't stupid.
yeah, no. Some people were, but not every. So anyway, Man of Steel is another one of my favorite films. And then if I had to name a third, I mean, I have my top 10 list. If you go to letterboxd.com/RyanMovieBuff, I have a bunch of top 10 lists and a bunch of like favorite movie lists on my page. And some of these have changed over time. Some of them I rank by franchise. So I've ranked like certain franchises on that page. So, excuse me, you can find it there. But if I had to name one of my other favorite movies, let's go back a little bit because I've named some of the more modern day films, in terms of Man of Steel and Star Wars: The Force Awakens, because those are more present day films. But back in the olden times, one of my favorite films, and we were actually talking about this today in the chat on Facebook, not you and me, but in another chat I was in. Field of Dreams, I think, is a great movie. I think Field of Dreams is fan-freaking-tastic, and you do not have to be a sports fan in any way, shape, or form. because baseball is the backdrop. But the main core of that movie is a very spiritual, like believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, don't let anything stop you. And as the wise man one says numerous times in this movie, if you build it, he will
They will
come.
come.
Which
Yeah.
means if you think of something and you dream of something that you want to go out and do, it'll happen. Like if you dream it, if you can dream it, you can do it. You know, so if you build it, he will come. And the tagline of the movie is not only that, but the tagline on the poster is, if you believe in the impossible, the incredible comes true, which is so accurate. It's so accurate. So Field of Dreams is a great movie. I have the movie poster over here in a portfolio in my man cave closet. And I have the movie on VHS and DVD because I love the movie so much. So I would say Field of Dreams is one of my favorites. Casablanca, I think, is a great film too. I think Casablanca's fantastic. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to argue that because it's like in the top 100 list on like the AFI and every other list in the world. But Casablanca, if you want to learn about how a film is like, that's like how a film is like made, but it's like a theater for acting. If you want to know how actors act, like that's a good like demonstration of how great acting is put on screen. Because you got Humphrey Bogart in his prime. You got a young, very beautiful, and coming into her own as well, Ingrid Bergman. You know, you got Paul Henry, you got Sidney Greenstreet, you got Peter Lorre, you got Claude freaking Rains. Okay? Claude Rains was one of the biggest dogs of that era and still is to this day. Like, if you go into the Hollywood history books, Claude Rains, I can almost guarantee you, is one of the first names that comes up alongside people like Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman, Judy Garland. By the way, Judy Garland is one of the biggest names in Hollywood's history. James Dean did 3 movies before he unfortunately died in a car accident at the tender age of 24. But if you watch his movies, I'm telling you, man, the film history to me is more fascinating than the current films that are out right now. Seriously, because those films of the, you know, back in the 1930s and 40s, they really set the precedent. They set the standard for how you can make a great story and put it on a screen. That you know what I mean? Like people put together stories in so many different forms. You can put together a story in a book, in a comic, in a pamphlet, in a PowerPoint presentation. But when you do it on a big screen like that, that's like a masterclass on its own. So my hats are off to all the men, women, the people who put together all the films from back in the heyday. Yes, I understand that Hollywood was not sunshine and rainbows even back then. I mean, look what happened to Judy Garland. You know, she had she in a way she was abused by the studio system, horrendously, I might add. You had other big name actresses and actors who were abused by the studio system, but when they were on screen and making their movies, they were on fire. Like they knew their craft.
They were on point.
They knew
Yep.
what they were like. James Dean did a lot of improv in his movies that ticked off his fellow co-stars because people are so used to sticking to the script. But James Dean went off script because he knew how to get emotions out of his actors by going off script and flipping things on their lids and keeping them on their toes. That's how good those men and women of that time were.
Well, and that's where some of our most famous movie scenes come from. Like,
you're tearing me apart. Like that's James Dean in his at his
or
best,
the drill sergeant and
R. Lee Ermey. Yeah, he did improv too.
Yeah, or you have Jim Carrey where he screws up or does improv and they end up
improv half the time. Guys like Robin Williams. Williams. That guy made improv look like it was nothing. He was
absolutely
so good. And by the way, once again, another life that ended far too soon. Robin Williams, rest in peace, my good man. To tell you the truth, Russ, because of guys like Robin Williams and Jim Carrey, they're the ones that inspired me to get into acting in the first place. Because I was quoting their movies to my classmates when I was in elementary school. And people were laughing with me because I was quoting the genie so well, I might add, from Aladdin, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. And then I did high school theater, and I learned, oh, this is a lot harder than it looks. This is a lot.
It is a lot harder.
Like, when you actually get into the system and you actually start acting and learning your craft, whether it's working behind the scenes or in front of the camera, it is a lot of hard work. Like it is seriously demanding. But when you perform and you hear the crowd's reactions and you're feeling the crowd, you know what I mean? When you're feeling the crowd reacting to you, you know you've got them hooked. And then when they give you that big applause at the end when you take your bow, you realize, hey, these people paid tickets to see this show, and we gave them their money's worth. And judging by their applause, I think we did pretty good. So
Yep. Yeah, I took 2 years of theater too, so
yeah, man.
it's definitely
High
a
school theater was
demanding.
no joke. It was work, but it was fun at the same time because when you're working with your fellow actors, the ones you got along with anyway. Because let's be honest, high school is a brutal jungle where there are some nasty people, and I
And
had to
so is the
deal.
real world. I mean, you
No, the
hear
real world is too,
actors.
but I'm just saying, like in high school theater, I had my fair share of issues with people, but I got through it because I loved what I did, and that is performing. I love performing, and I love entertaining people. To tell you the truth, I feel, and I can't speak for everybody. This is just coming from me. I'm not going to speak for the audience. I'm not going to speak for the host here, Russ. But what I can tell you is that I feel like I was put on this earth to entertain people because I love interacting with people. I love hearing their stories, and I like hearing, reading their content, sharing their kind of whatever. Like I love doing that, and I feel like I was put on this earth to entertain as well as just support other people because let's face it, we live in a very dark society right now, especially with COVID still
Yeah.
going on. So we need to be there for each other as best we can. Now, is it going to be easy? No, I am not saying that. I am not saying that it's going to be, oh, it's going to be easy. You'll get that. No, no, no. It's rough. It's
It's
very,
very
very
rough.
hard. Like you and I were talking backstage about some of the struggles that we're having. It's rough out there. But the best thing we can do is to be there for one another. However you want to go about that, I'll leave that up to you to interpret. But the other thing we can do is give people this world of entertainment and escapism. Because when you
Exactly.
work 9 to 5, or if you're putting in an 80-hour work week at a hospital, and by the way, my hats are off to the men and women who are doctors, nurses, scientists, first care providers. What do you call them? The first responders, the paramedics, all those people. I cannot imagine what they are going through with this COVID thing still hanging over our heads. Can't imagine. But my hats are off to them because they are fighting for us on the front lines every single day. So the best thing I can do as a human being and as a person is just entertain as best I can. And if I put a smile on one person's face, if I make one person laugh, or if I get a comment in the chat, if I get someone to like the video or share the video, I would have done my job. And my job is to have fun, entertain, give people something to escape from. And if they like it, that's great. And if they don't like it, hey, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a perfect person because I'm not. I am not perfect. I am flawed as anyone else. But the best thing I can do is just have fun, do what I do best, do the show that I do every Saturday. Because you know how, and this is going to sound corny, Russ, but I want to bring this up now. You know how Dominic Toretto, it's all about family. In the Fast and the Furious, where he says to Paul Walker, and by the way, Paul Walker, another life ended tragically too soon. He says to him, for those 30 seconds or less, I'm free. Because he lives his life a quarter mile at a time, right? So when I'm doing my show on Saturdays for an hour, hour and a half, however long it is, for those 60 minutes or more, I'm free. I am my best self when I'm doing this show. When I'm doing it, I quote, or whether I'm being a guest on your show, whatever. If I'm doing something that involves being on camera and electrifying the millions and millions of people out there, I love that stuff, and that's what I live for. So my hats off to all the people who are fighting on the front lines during COVID. But my hats are off to all the people who are providing content because it is not easy. But if you
No.
keep doing it, just enjoy it, man, because you only get one life. You get one shot at life. So make the most of it, man, because and this is something I've realized. I know this is common sense to anybody, not just men and women, but for children as well. But when you watch, I've been watching a lot of inspirational videos on YouTube recently. Like motivational speeches. Have you seen these? Have you seen a few of these on YouTube? I can send you some links later in the backstage area, but I'm telling you now, I watched this video and this person says, you got to live your life like there is no, because in a way, there is no tomorrow. We only got today. So what are you going to do today, to make things better? What are you going to do to accomplish your dream? Because there is just like, you know what I mean? Like, just imagine that there is no tomorrow, because in a way there isn't. If you get up tomorrow, that's great, but you could be, who knows, you could be dust in the wind by morning. You don't know that. We don't know. I'm just, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just speaking
Yeah.
metaphorically. But you got to live each day as if there is no tomorrow. And I've had a lot of trouble with that. And I still do. We're human. We make mistakes. We're not perfect. We do it all the time. But when I'm doing my shows every week and I'm working with other people every week and I'm doing stuff with people, as long as I'm working with somebody or I'm in a show with somebody else, I feed off of other people's energy. And then when you live like there is no tomorrow, you get stuff done today because it really is the truth. We only have today. We're never
That's
going to
right.
be guaranteed a tomorrow.
And
So when you watch,
that's where my wife
yeah,
and I struggle. You know, I live like there's no tomorrow, and I also
mhm,
plan for the future. And my
sure.
wife lives for tomorrow and the next day, and
And
like she
the
never
yeah,
thinks about today. And you know, and it's something I try to teach her. You know, you gotta live like there's no tomorrow. Take care of things today because you may not have a chance to tomorrow.
yeah. Oh no, I
And
always plan ahead. I got a Type A personality, so I'm always planning. Like I'll tell you this right now. Here's a little behind the scenes secret. My show is booked to the beginning of April of next year. I have guests every week until like the mid part of April. That's how much work I'm putting into this right now. That's how much hustle I put into this thing. I went to a Comic-Con a few weeks ago. That was my first Comic-Con in 2 years since before the apocalypse. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And while I was there, I networked with like 4 other people because I knew that if I didn't say something to them now, opportunity could be gone tomorrow. So I
yep.
said to him, hey, I like what you do. I want to talk about that. I would like for you to be a guest on my show. Would you be down? And they're like, yeah, sure. Send me an email or like hit me up, DM me on Instagram. I'm like, okay. Guess what I did? The day or two later, boom, DM him on Instagram. Boom, send him an email because when the wheels are turning, you got to go when the wheels are turning because if you go to bed that night, you wake up tomorrow, you may forget about the whole gosh darn thing. No, got to
Or
attack
you
it.
forget until 5 days later. You message them and you're like, "Who are you again?"
Yeah, who's this person again? I don't remember who you are, but yeah, no, it's you got to hustle, man. You got to hustle.
You
So the
gotta
more you
hustle.
hustle, the more work you put in, the more you're going to get out of it. So yeah, I don't know
Well,
where
and
we
it's
were.
like you
I don't even
said.
remember what you asked me a second ago, but that's how I feel.
Well, I want to go on top of what you said, and it's what I always say to people when they say, you know, why do you do these shows? Why do you create? Why do you know push yourself so
You
hard?
do like
Because
3, 4 shows a week, and I don't know how you do it. Brian K. Morris does like 10 shows a week, and he's 65 years old, and I'm like, dude, I don't know how you do it, brother. Seriously, you got to be drinking some like high tea coffee or something. I don't know what's going on in your system, but man, my hat's off to the people who do 5, 10 shows a week. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but it's like
no, you're good.
the people who
So
do this stuff, I don't know how they do it because I'm cool doing 1 show a week because I'm just so used to the grind. I'm used to that weekly grind. But there are people who
yeah.
put in 3, 4, 5 shows a week, and I'm thinking to myself, how on God's green earth do they do that? Because that is to me is amazing. Anyway,
Well, I
sorry.
work like 50,
Continue.
60 hours a week. I do 4 shows a week. I'm writing book 2. Now I've got stuff Full Circle of Destruction. I also run the Comic Books for Kids charity auction. And now I wrote a story for Lunatales. Now I'm writing a new comic book that we're going to sell next year with all proceeds going to Comic Books for Kids. But
God.
people always say, why do you keep yourself so busy? And it's like, for one, it's escapism for me.
Oh hell yeah.
It takes me away from my health. It's something
Hmm.
I enjoy doing. And when I'm doing these shows, when I'm doing these projects, when I'm helping other people, I forget about my problems because everybody else has problems too. I'm trying to help other people who are trying to share their work, who are trying to escape their lives. I'm helping other people and in turn helping myself through helping other people. And it's like I always say, you know, this show is a light in a dark place. People can come to the light. There's so much negativity online. I want to do a positive show that talks about inspirations, that we talk about good things and the good things that are out there, and we share these things. And people have a choice. They can come to the light, they can come hang out, watch the show, or they can stay in the darkness. And a lot of us creators are out here trying to be a light, you know, for the general population out there who feel like the world is bleak and there's nothing going
Oof.
on. They can log
Yeah.
into these shows and they can be like, you know, for instance, when I had Mike on, Mike James, the life coach, a guy that I've been talking to for 8 years, yeah, a really, you know, cool guy. I've always chatted with him. Watch that show. The next day at work, he calls me. He's always had my number. He's never called me. We've texted like off
Hmm.
and on, but he's never called me. I
Sure.
was on the phone and I told my wife, I said, I gotta go. Somebody's calling me and they've never called me before. Something's going on. I answer the phone and he goes, "Hey Russ, I just wanted to let you know that buying your book probably saved my life." And I was like, "What?" You know,
That's
that's
like in the
that's the
that's
weirdest
heavy.
thing to hear. That's the weirdest thing to hear out of somebody's mouth you've known for 8 years. You're like,
It's heavy, bro.
whatever. You kind of laugh it off. And then it got serious. He goes, "Since COVID happened, all of my friends really weren't my friends. They all disappeared. I
Yep,
haven't had anybody to talk to.
exactly.
I realized you've always talked to me. You've always been there. I've always had your number, and I've never thought to call you. I bought your book. In the front of the book, there was your website. I went and I checked it out. I found your Facebook page. I went and watched your show last night with Mike James,
Hmm.
and it really hit home." He's like, "I was really ready to commit suicide, but because I watched your show, it really brought me to the light." And imagine hearing that. That was
Heavy.
heavy. Like I
Very.
started
I mean,
crying. I'm not gonna lie about it. It made me cry because
yeah.
it's like because of what I do, I saved one person's life. If that's the only good thing that comes out of the show, I can be happy with that.
Hmm.
I know there's more
That's a
good
big
that
one
comes
though.
from it. You
That's
know,
I mean that's heavy stuff. That's a bit intimidating, but at the same time, it's. I mean, I'm glad that your friend is well and doing the things that he's
I
doing
am too. I am very
because
glad that he is well.
because that
But
is that's some serious stuff. Because I did, and I'm sure you may have heard of this. I'm sure you who are watching this right now are probably familiar with AFSP.org, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I've done campus walks at my college campus with them twice. One was virtual because of COVID. The other one was before the apocalypse, long before the apocalypse.
the My Sharona, Miley Cyrus, Peter Pandemic.
As Brian K. Morris likes to call it, which, by the way, Brian K. Morris, we love you, man. Take another shot. We mentioned your name. Take another shot. So
Yep.
I've done virtual walks with them, and I did it because, like everyone else, I've had those thoughts. I've had, days where I just want to throw in the towel and just quit because quitting it's a four-letter word. That's one. Number two, it's very easy to quit. People quit all the time. Like people do it all the time. And I'm not necessarily saying, like, I'm not calling this person out and saying, oh, you're a quitter. That means you're never going to succeed. No, 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 no. When you quit, is it rough? Yes. Is it the right thing to do? Maybe in the moment it is, but when you think back on it, you're like, man, I should
That
have
was
just kept
stupid.
going. Because if you kept going,
Yep.
XYZ could have happened, and then you could have been in the captain's potential, depending on what it is. I can't speak for every situation, but I participated in those walks because I've had those thoughts. I have struggled with thinking about that stuff, but I do it because, and this is something I've realized during the Corona Miley Corona thing.
The My
Is that
Sharona, Miley Cyrus, Peter
thank you,
Pandemic.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you do that because I can't say it to save my own skin because I'm not very good with words. But what I can say is that two things I've learned during this whole situation, the whole situation. One, mental health is more important to me than it's ever been before. That's number one. Number two, it's okay to ask for help. It is not a negative. It is not a weakness. It is not a cowardly way out of the situation that you're in. If you need help, just ask for it because there's nothing wrong with dialing a phone number, going to
No.
a website, texting a crisis hotline, which I know that friends of mine have done, listening to whatever gets you through the day. Like, for instance, if you need to do meditation, do it. If you like to exercise, do it. If you like listening to new age music, like I do when I'm stressed, listen to the music. If you like guided imagery meditation, do it. There is nothing wrong with reaching out and saying to somebody, listen, I'm hurting, and I'm hurting really bad, and I don't want this hurt to continue. I need help. Can you point me in the direction of someone that can assist me in this matter? I say yes. Yes. Do not be ashamed to ask for help, brother and sisters, because we live in a very dark world right now, and there are services out there that will help you for
And
free.
it's not,
There are
and I
free
want to butt
services
in and
out there
say
where you
it's
don't have to pay a
not
dime for it.
unmanly. That's a
No,
lot of
it's
the
not.
issue. Men make up three out of every four suicides because
Exactly.
men have this I'm a man, I should just shut up
I
and
gotta
deal
be
with
I
my
gotta be
problems
strong for this
mentality. I
person.
got to
I
be
gotta do
strong.
X, Y,
There's nothing
Z.
wrong with a man crying. There's nothing wrong
No.
with a man being emotional. There's nothing wrong with a man talking about his problems. And for those that belittle you or that want to talk down to you, those are the wrong type of people to be around.
Ditch
It's not
ditch the
because you're
yeah. Yeah, don't. This is another thing I've learned. I mean, granted, this is common sense, but I've also heard this in a video. You need to get the people out of your life who are tearing you down, giving you crap, not supporting you, not encouraging you. Because if you keep hanging out with those people, the word quit is going to come up more times than it should.
That's right.
Because quitting is one thing, but sticking with it and grinding and hustling and getting through the grind. Like, let's say, like I said, I got to send you links to these videos that I've been watching because they will like fire you. They will fire you up like crazy. But hey, Thomas Bishop is here. What's up, man? I don't know who that is, but we're very happy that you're with us. It must be one of your BFFs. But what, what I was saying was, have you heard of the name Les Brown? Have you heard that guy?
No.
Okay, Les Brown is one of the most popular motivational speakers of all time. And guess what, Russ? The more you know. Go on YouTube, look him up. So he says in a video, imagine that you're running a marathon and you have the marathon's 24 miles. And when you hit the 18th mile is the wall. And you feel like, you can't get through that wall. But you got to find that inner, energy, that inner voice within you that says, yes, I can. And it's not over until I win. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever you're going through, whatever you're trying to, whatever goals you're trying to accomplish, say to yourself, it's not over until I win. Because the more you grind, the more you hustle, the more you stick with it, more success you're going to have. And the other thing is, and I've learned this too, make sure the more friends you have, the better off you're going to be. But make sure it's a good supportive group of friends. Don't stick with the naysayers, but you see what I'm saying? Like, just go through it, man. Let me see. Did Les? That is a good question. I don't know. All I know is that Les Brown is one of the most popular motivational speakers of all time, and he's been around for like 40, 50 some odd years. The guy's a beast. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, look up his stuff on YouTube because there are so many of his videos that are like, what do you call those things? Viral on YouTube. It's insanity times 1,000, brother. Yeah. But sorry, I grew up watching pro wrestling, so I got like pro wrestling stuff in my brain. So I'm like, I got a bit of the Macho Man Randy Savage in me, but still, I digress.
That's all good. I've been picking up on it. I've been laughing
Yeah, because he has all those sayings like, I'm the cream that rises to the top. Yeah. So it's just, and plus he was in the NWO, and I am NWO for life because I grew up during the latter part of the Monday Night Wars between Bischoff and Vince McMahon. So WCW versus WWE, I grew up during that period. And let me tell you, those were some fun times, man. Those were some fun times. But anyway. So yeah, the point I'm trying to make here is that the two things I've learned throughout this whole situation is that it's okay to ask for help. That's number one. And number two, and this is something I have right here on my wall. You can't see it, but it's right here on my wall. Tend to your mental health garden because your mental health is so important. It's so important because your mind plays tricks on you at times. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have these feelings and you're feeling like negative and stuff, your mind can play tricks on you to the point where it makes you physically unwell. Because what you know what I'm saying? Like, what you're thinking in your mind can affect you physically. What you're thinking physically can affect you mentally. So you gotta tend to your mental health garden. What I mean by that is make sure you're in a good headspace mentally. And however you get to that, like positive, mental health space, I don't care how you do it, just do it. Because mental health is so important. It's so important. And if you need help, there are resources out there. And granted, you can just Google it. I don't need to sit here and get on another 5-hour soapbox and be like, yo, go to AFSP.org.
Just remember, you're not alone. You are not alone. You're never alone.
That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing I want to point out. You are certainly 100% not alone in this. There are men, women, and children who are struggling just as bad, if not some people have it like even more struggles than you. I'm not saying like belittle them. I'm just saying like we're all going through some stuff, man. Just be aware.
Be kind to one another.
Yeah, you know what? This is the thing I've learned about Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I want to live in a neighborhood with a neighbor like you. So just let's be neighborly. Let's be nice to each other because, as he says at the end of every episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, it's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling. You're growing inside, and when you wake up, ready to say, I think I'll make a snappy new day. It's such a good feeling, a very good feeling. The feeling that I'll be back when the day is new, and I'll have more ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. I will too. See what I mean? Like, you see what I mean? And then he says at the end of every episode, he's like, you made today a special day, but just you being yourself. There's only one person like you in the whole world. So you see what I'm saying, Lan? Like, we need to get the Mr. Rogers philosophy of life going, you know?
That's right.
And by the way, if
So
you have not seen the documentary, It's You I Like from PBS, or the Won't You Be My Neighbor documentary that came out a few years ago, or the Tom Hanks biopic, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, get on it, man. Those three things are so good, and they give you a great insight into who Fred Rogers was as a person and as a TV host, because what you saw on TV is the exact same person you got in real life. Like, he is that nice. Like, he is that humble. So check yourself, treat yourself, watch those 3 documentaries / movies. It's like the doctor saying, take 2 of these and call me in the morning. Well, watch these 3 things and then call me in the morning and let me know how they were, because they are awesome sauce times 1,000.
So I want to ask a final question before we
Really?
call
A
it a
final
night.
question? I thought you had like 30 other questions on your docket on that piece of paper you have in front of you, but okay.
Oh, I do. I have 600 more questions. It's more than 30.
Ask me whatever you want, man. I'm like, life, I'm an open book.
So speaking of open books,
I do like
what
books.
are your top books? What is your go-to favorite book, and what are some of your other favorites?
So we're talking about books, right? Books, words on a page books, not the comic books, because we talked about
Yes.
comics earlier in the show. And if you haven't seen that portion of the show, you can watch that after you watch this part. But anyway, free plugs for you, Russ.
So books, like, and
Sure,
I know
sure.
I know this one's gonna be your favorite, so you can just gloss over it.
Yeah, sure. Sitting on my desk, I need to finish it. But some of my favorite books that I've read most recently, you know what? I hate to do this, but I need to bring up my Goodreads account on my phone to see some of the stuff I've read recently that's like blown my mind, because I've read so much during the Corona Miley Cyrus situation.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I'm in my phone. Let me see. Books that I've read. Here we go. So some of the stuff I've really enjoyed, I would say Bobby Nash is one of my favorite writers right now. He writes the series called Snow, which is about a private eye called Abraham Snow. And Snow Shorts Volumes 1 and 2 are available in paperback as well as ebook when you go to www.bobbynash.com for more information on his stuff. And if you want to know more about Abraham Snow, the PI, and his adventures, go to abrahamsnow.com today, because there's a lot of awesome sauce coming from that. Let me tell you. Another great book I read recently that I really enjoyed, Neurosis by Amy Hale, which is a psychological thriller about a young lady who is going through mental health struggles, and she is seeing somebody that looks exactly like her, but the question is this person she is seeing real, or is it part of one of her delusions? You got to read the book Neurosis by Amy Hale and go to author amyhale.com for more information on that. So Neurosis is a great psychological thriller if you're into that sort of stuff. Also by Bobby Nash, this is another one called In the Wind, which is a Tom Myers mystery. He's a sheriff in a small town in Summersville, Georgia. And a federal witness is in the wind. He is on the run, so it's up to Sheriff Tom Myers and his team to find this witness and bring him back, so that he can testify against the criminal organization at trial. And a little bit of trouble ensues in this book. So check out Sheriff Tom Myers. It's called In the Wind by the one and only Bobby Nash. And if you can't tell by now, I'm a big Bobby Nash fan. Bobby Nash, you are the dog, man. You're the dog right now. But Amy Hale is great too. Amy Hale is a fantastic writer. I am not going to take anything away from her. Also, Evolution Man by Charles F. Milhouse. If you go to stormgatepress.com, Evolution Man is about a young man named Caden Wells who has a climbing accident. And he is injured to the point where he is near death. And a group of doctors and scientists put him back together with scientific technology, so he becomes a bit of a half man, half evolution type person with special abilities. Hence the reason it's called Evolution Man. A little bit of the Bionic Man, the $6 million man type vibes. So go to stormgatepress.com. You will not be disappointed. And what's another one here? Gosh, there's so many. I want to raffle off some other writers that deserve some love here. Let me see who I can find. Oh my gosh. Amy Hale, so and so. Well, those are some of the writers. Those are some of the books that I've read recently that I want to plug and give a shout out to, because Bobby Nash, Amy Hale, Charles F. Millhouse, some other writers too. They are fantastic people. Brian K. Morris, I just read one of his short stories that is in Snow Shorts, Volume 2, I want to say, of Abraham Snow, which is by Bobby Nash, but he put out some short stories that are written by different writers, good friends of Bobby's, and one of them just happens to be Brian K. Morris. Once again, Brian K. Morris, take another shot. Go to risingtide.pub for more information on Brian K. Morris and all the wonderful things he is doing, because Brian K. Morris does 5 or 7, 8,000 shows a week, and the guy's in his mid-60s. I don't know how that crazy motherfracker does it, but my hat's off to him, because Brian K. Morris, and this is something I want to bring up now.
Your fez is off to him.
Not only is my hat off to him, his fez, he wears a fez, so my fez hat is off to him, I guess. I'm not a Whovian, Brian K. Morris. It's not my thing, but if it's your thing, go with it, my friend. I am not a Whovian, although I do think Alex Kingston is a very talented actress, and especially when she drops those 2 magic words on you, hello, sweetie, or spoilers, from Doctor Who. So if you're into that sort of stuff, hey, play it up in the TARDIS. But what was I going to say? Gosh, I lost it. Yeah, so those are some of the writers I've been reading from, so check them out. They're great books, great stuff, and also, I've interviewed some of the writers from this team on my show. I've interviewed a number of these people on my show. Amy Hale is going to be a future guest on And I Quote. Stay tuned for that. Thank you, Thomas. Listen, here's the secret about that. I want to tell you a secret. All right, so come close. I want to tell you something. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink tea. I don't drink energy drinks. I don't drink any of the powdered sugared stuff that gets people energetic as a kite. I wake up each day with 50,000 volts of energy coursing through these itty-bitty little veins of mine right here. So I don't drink anything. I'm just that energetic. And in the words of Triple H from the WWE once said, I'm just that damn good. So if you applaud my energy, that's where I get it. I just wake up with this pulsing through my itty-bitty little veins. So my hat's off to the man above for giving me this energy, because I don't know how I do it. But I'm sorry, what was the question? What books am I reading? So yeah, those are some of the books I'm reading, and check them out.
And so your top favorite book. What is your most, what is the one book you've read a bajillion times and that's your go-to book?
Well, I haven't read it a bajillion times, but it is one of those books that just knocked me on my keister. You know what I mean? Like when you read a really good book and it just knocks you on your backside. Let me see. I have my bookshelf is right over here, so this is why I'm looking in this direction. Let me see here. You know what? I'm going to give this gentleman a quick shout out, because I think this needs to be said. I think Neurosis by Amy Hale knocked me on my keister, so that's one I want to give a shout out again to. But one that really just so good, it's called A High Price to Pay by Rick Gendraw. And if you go on our YouTube channel, I did an interview with him, and I spoke to him specifically about this book. A High Price to Pay. This is about a young man going off to war during the 1860s. So this is set during the era of the Civil War. I'm not going to say what side he's fighting for, or why he's doing it, or how he got there. But when you read the book, A High Price to Pay by Rick Gendraw, about a young man going off to war and questioning himself every step of the way of why he's doing it, you understand what I'm saying. So I think A High Price to Pay and Neurosis are books that just gave me a good, right hook to the jaw and knocked me on my keister, because there were some twists, there were some turns, there were surprises, and I think the writing by both Amy Hale and both, as well as Rick Gendraw, I want to say, are fantastic. They draw you into the story, you feel for the characters, you understand the characters, you want to root for these characters, but at some point you want to question these characters, like, well, maybe this person isn't the hero or the protagonist we may want them to be, right? Because you see what I'm saying, Russ? Like, you question yourself when you're reading this book. You're thinking, well, this person is the protagonist of the story, but do I really believe in this person or what they're doing, or am I questioning their motives? Because as we all know, no character is perfect, and all characters have flaws. So that's the beauty of these stories, Russ. So if you check out A High Price to Pay by Rick Gendraw, Neurosis by Amy Hale, those are the books that knocked me on my keister. So that answers the question. I know I've repeated myself a couple of times there, and I've gone on a soapbox one too many times on this show already. But I have to say this. Another thing I discovered during the course of the Corona, Miley Cyrus, the indie creator circuit the indie creator world and the indie world of writers out there is much bigger than I originally thought. There are so many different writers who write in so many different genres for so many different publishers, or they are independent publishers, I might add. And I applaud those who do independent publishing because that's not always easy. But I applaud people who do it. Those indie writers are some of the best writers, in my opinion, going today. So my hats are off to all the people I've just mentioned. And if you haven't read any of their books yet, go to their websites, check them out on Amazon, because most writers do have an Amazon page on Amazon.com. Visit them, buy their books, support indie creators of all shapes and sizes, because I'll tell you from firsthand experience, from my experience, some of the best stories are written by indie creators. They just are, because they're just that good at their craft. They're just, just like Triple H. I'm just that damn good. I am the game. So that's what I would say. Does that answer your question, Russ?
That answers my question. Very much so. So I want to thank you for being on here tonight. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm going to give you a chance to take the full screen, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and where they can find you.
Oh boy, no pressure, right? So here's the deal. I want to thank Russ for having me on. What's that, Russ?
The pressure's on.
Exactly, the pressure's on. There you go. See, people are whispering stuff to me backstage. Anyway, so I want to take this opportunity to thank you for having me on the show, Russ. I do appreciate it. Brian K. Morris is the Mr. Rogers of the interwebs, but I think that Russell Allen is the best supporter on the interwebs today. So that's my moniker for you. That's my nickname. I'm giving to you, and you're sticking with it. But you can find me on all forms of social media. Find us on all forms of social media, simply at It's Nerd Culture. New videos being posted on our YouTube channel each and every week. Follow us on all forms of social media. We have a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. Like I said, new videos go up every week. Anything that's nerdy, whether it be movies, TV series, Twitch streams, like video games, we stream it. We put it up on our YouTube channel. So check us out, and also check out my podcast. It's called The Nerdcast. It's an audio podcast on Anchor, Google, Spotify, wherever you download your podcast, you can find it there. I'm going to be putting up new episodes in the next couple of weeks. Try to get getting back into the grind of that and giving you some new content there, because I've seen so many movies recently, and I want to share my thoughts and opinions with you on. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, to all of you out there, stay healthy, stay strong, stay safe. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. And certainly, and I became a Star Trek fan because of during the situation that we're in. I've watched a lot of movies lately, so I'm a Star Trek TNG fan. I love Picard. I think Picard is the man. Live long and prosper. And if you have a dream out there, go for it. And in the words of my good friend Picard, make it so.
Well, I'm going to kick you back to the green room if you want to hang out for just a minute, sir. I'll be right back. So, folks, thanks so much for being here tonight. For those of you who watched this back, I appreciate you as well. Please check out Nerd Culture. Check out Ryan's stuff that he's got going on with his podcast, as well as his bit on Saturdays at 11 o'clock Central, noon Eastern time. And keep supporting indies. That's what it's all about. So if you see an indie project and you're interested in it, think about throwing $1 at them or supporting them fully. Just by supporting them for $1, it'll help share out their stuff to everyone out there that follows you. If you can't afford to back it for $1, at least share it out, like it, comment on the post. Even if it's just an interview like this, it helps people see it in their feed and come in and find out about all these awesome creators and get their great stuff. So everyone, thank you so much for supporting indie creators. We appreciate you very much. I will be back again on Saturday for Blastcast episode something at 7 or 8. I don't know. Who's keeping count anyway? We're having so much fun. So everyone, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate you guys. You guys have a great night and a great rest of your week.